What's up, everyone? Mark here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, as always, I have another podcast for you guys. Today, I have on a photographer. So for those of you out there that are on that fence, whether to jump on the photography space or you currently are in the photography space, and if you're a girl, so if you're a young woman or, a female, this is who I have on today. I have a female photographer. Her name is Rainbow. What's up, Rainbow? How are you?
I'm good.
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I'll give you guys a bit of a backstory on how we crossed paths, and I think it was last year. Hey, was it early last year?
Yeah, it would have been.
Early last year.
We're part of the Mamana Academy.
That's right.
Media team.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good time.
Yeah, it was, man. It was so cool. So that group there that our Rainbow's talking about, it was me, her, and a few other creatives that were there. A few of them, two of them I've had on already. So I've had on Frames by B and Mafana.
Yes.
And now we've got Rainbow. We've got Rainbow here today. We met back then. I think you were there as well with your partner?
Yes.
Yeah. And so I thought, I don't know if you remember, but I think I asked you something like, do you both do the photography or something like that?
Usually that's the thing with duos. It's one does photo, one does video. But I think at the time we're just purely focusing on photography. So he was just kind of my technician.
And support, support.
More support.
Man. But that's what I remember from there. It was a good night. Really, really good night.
Lots of learning experiences there for sure.
Yeah. I enjoyed meeting all the new creatives because I had been filming for a while before. I had a year break. And then I think when I came to that event, that was kind of like my first one back into the game. So when I came back that time, I met you and the others. You guys were like the new ones that I met at that time. I found it, from my point of view, I really enjoyed it because I think for me, being around the new group was refreshing for me, and just seeing how excited you guys were, how you guys were working. It just really took me back to when I started. Yeah. I think I remember we were talking probably most likely on cameras, what camera you're using and all of that stuff.
We did touch base a little bit on that. Just kind of what we shoot with, whether it's Sony or Canon, that kind of thing, and just getting a few tips and tricks before the big dance, I guess. With the filming of the actual event, because it was quite big, wasn't it?
It was,
with royalty in the house. A few funny stories
that experience,
there for sure. But yeah, it was really, really good. It was such a good bouncing board for me with meeting everyone there all in one place and all doing the same thing. It was just it was really, really exciting for me.
Yeah,
getting to know everyone.
Did it help you with the nervous side and all of that as well, being around other creators?
Yeah, 100, nice. Definitely. I was very surprised, first of all, to get the call up to go. I didn't, and I missed that first meeting that you guys had as well. Because I think everyone had a pre-meeting before we started, and I did miss that one, so I wasn't sure what to expect going in. But oh man, once I was there, and everyone was so passionate, and everyone was as geeky as I was about gear, I guess, at the same time. So yeah, it was really good. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Did you miss the meeting because you didn't know there was a meeting, or did you just miss it?
I kind of forgot about it, I guess. I was that nervous. I was like, is this real? Is this real? But yeah, I think that would have been good, but it wasn't bad that was my first introduction when I actually met you on the job. It was actually really cool.
Yeah. Oh, nice. I think if you don't mind, if we just have maybe, I guess, for everybody else to get a little bit of an idea of who you are, your background and all of that stuff. If you don't mind, can we just jump into that part?
Yeah. Yeah, my name's Rainbow, which, yes, it's legit my name.
Yeah, Rainbow.
It's an easy one to remember. I always say it to everybody. But yeah, I was a Tokelauan photographer. I was born and raised in Tokelau. And I've been, doing photography for a little while, but I recently kind of just started my business about a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I always had a passion for photography because my dad's a bit of an artist. He's a painter. So I kind of grew up around, like primary, like he was teaching us things like primary colors and, warm tone, cool tones, like super basic stuff. But it kind of
Oh, wow.
gave me a passion for art, basically. And yeah.
That's nice. Tokelau.
Yes.
Man, what's that place like?
Small. um,
I've never been. I've heard of it.
it's definitely a great place to grow up as a child. I think there's a lot of nature around you, and obviously you get to sort of see a lot of beautiful things and try and capture that. I guess it seems natural to go in that path when you live in somewhere like really nice like Tokelau.
Oh, nice. So it's in the Pacific Islands, eh? What's your neighbors?
So Tokelau is north of Samoa. And the Cook Islands, I think, is a little bit to the east side, I think. That's probably our nearest neighbors, and then everybody else around. But Tokelau, the only way to get there is on a boat, which takes about 24 hours to get to the first. Yeah, so
from where?
From Samoa.
Oh, so you got to fly to Samoa.
So you got to go on the boat and then, so on the way here, you got to go on the boat and then catch the flight from Samoa to here. So it's a bit of a, commute.
Wow. Man, that's nice. So you were born there?
Yes.
And how old were you before you left?
I was about 18 years old when we left.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you come to Australia?
No, we actually lived in Wellington before I moved over to Brisbane. So I spent a bit of time in New Zealand, which is where I sort of entered the photography course, which really established my sort of passion for it, I guess. Just a couple of years ago now. But and then about 6 years ago, I moved to Brisbane.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Your family and your parents are still back in the island?
Yes, mum and dad are back in the islands. The sort of early retirement, I guess. No kids around. Everyone's left the nest and things like this. So, they're still back in the islands.
Yeah. So since you've left and then you went to Wellington and then, so you came from Wellington to here?
Yes.
Have you been back for a visit in between those times or?
So the last time I was in Tokelau was about 12 years ago now. So it's been a while.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've been back home. But to New Zealand, yes, definitely. I've been back and forth.
So you have family, when you went to Wellington, you have family there? Yeah. Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Man, that's really, really cool. So your dad, you said your dad was a musician?
He's an artist. He's a painter.
Artist.
Yeah.
Painter. Oh, like is that something he's always done since young?
Yes. He's like a, how do you say? He normally works with oil and on canvas, and he does sort of just a lot of paintings in that way, like an artist, kind of fine art.
That's cool. That's nice. I think like with the creative side, some people come from that space first, like drawing or art. You grew up seeing him doing that for years.
There was a lot of like things he would tell us off the cuff, things like, composition, rules and rule of thirds and basic things like that would sort of, I would keep in the back of my mind. And things like different tones and colors and just fascinating things. And even going back to sort of all the, like, I forget who the names are. It's some Italian people and stuff like that. He would tell us like, just seeing the passion that he had for the art. And he would tell us examples of like classic painters and things like that that would put it in my mind. It was sort of like in the back of my mind and somewhat inspire like a little bit of my thinking when it comes to creativity, I guess.
Wow. Does he still paint now, would you say?
Yeah. Just in the
Really?
island. Yeah.
Man, that's cool. Hangs all his stuff on around the house.
Yeah.
Does he sell his stuff?
He my dad he loves to paint, but he sort of likes to take his time as well with his paintings. Sometimes it takes quite a bit for him to complete a project and stuff like that. He is a bit of a perfectionist, which I think I inherited a little bit of. But yeah, that's where my major sort of introduction into it, I would say, came from.
Right. That's nice. That's nice to hear about your dad. What about your mom?
My mom was more on the secular side, I think. She was just more like she worked in education, for example. And she was the secular side, and my dad was like the artsy side.
Wow. So from there to Wellington, then you studied photography?
Yeah, I did a little certificate. Like it was literally like a 20-week course that I did in practical photography. Because I've always loved, like my dad had an old film camera, for example, and I've always like been so curious about what it is and how to work it and stuff like that. And tourists would come to the islands to Tokelau and bring all their fancy like one time there was a guy that had a Polaroid camera. I was like, how does that work? Like this little island girl that had that really didn't have any experience at all with any of that. But it was so fascinating to me how like the big thing that he takes a picture of becomes this little small, I don't know. It was just the way my brain works at the time.
And it's instant.
Yeah, and it's instant. Yeah. It's like, how did that, just my brain trying to work through that. And
that's so true.
Yeah. And just, always had that kind of fascination with photography. And at the time I would try and film like take photos at local events as well. Just with like a basic camera that was, I don't know, my mom must have bought it from some shop somewhere, some tech shop somewhere. And I would just use that and take photos of people like around home. And
right,
because there was a lot of events and things like weddings and, where all the whole community comes into, and it's a whole process of cooking together and, taking all the things to the event and stuff like that. So it was actually a lot of things to capture. And
man, this is cool. You've been around that art, like photography arts for a while, being young.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
Yeah, being young.
Like I've just kind of loved the art of it, really, the outside of it. And it wasn't until a couple of years into, I think this would have been 2012, when I sort of started seriously looking at a camera, which I kind of started by filming. You've heard of the pageant, the Miss Pacific pageant that was just on now. So we had our little version of that back in the islands, where we would there would be sort of like a little pageant show that we would put on with all the ladies attending from other atolls. And one year I decided to sort of take photos and film that a little bit. And then I burnt it on DVDs. I'm showing my age here, but I'm putting my
I know DVDs there. Oh my gosh!
My mom would buy me this like stack of empty DVDs, and I would just make a little, like, I don't know, 30, like an hour maybe of the film, and just put it on the DVD and just kind of sell it to people. So that kind of started a little side hustle in the islands, I think it was. And that allowed me to save up enough to get my very first camera, which was a Canon 60D.
And this is in the island?
Yeah. In about 2012. This was well before, like, obviously where I'm like Lalua and everything else. But this is where like all the photography, like learning curves, I think was for me.
So sorry. So when you order the camera, how did you order it?
My mom had a friend that work friend that she that lived sort of overseas, and she would come in to do meetings and stuff like that. So like, hey,
wow.
So she bought that for me, in Auckland, which is a very far away place to wait for a little camera to come through. But yeah, that kind of segued into me setting up a Facebook page. that was like my entry into social media. And basically what that was it's just a place for me to post like the current events on the islands, like photos and videos and stuff like that, sort of construction work that was happening over there and things like this. And basically what I said was in the bio of that page was like, this is just photos for people who miss home and want to see what's happening. And I've deactivated that page now, so you won't find it. Just kidding. I won't expose myself with all my old photography work. But yeah, so that's after that. That was not long after we sort of made the move to New Zealand that I kind of,
Wow.
That was a bit of fun.
Man, that's pretty cool. Like hearing the start of it for you. I'm just curious. So with that Canon, what did you say, 60D?
Yeah.
Did you pick that camera specifically, or did your mom's friend recommend that camera? Or?
I did do a bit of reading about it.
Okay, yeah.
I did hear the only thing that I remember about it that made me choose it was because somebody was saying on some forum somewhere that it was good for like beginners.
Okay.
Like advanced beginners. So I really wanted something that wasn't too basic, but something that wasn't too advanced, I think is my thought of was my thinking at the time. But yeah.
Nice. What lens did you get?
It was excuse me, it was a kit lens.
Okay, that's all
so
cool.
Like a zoom and a nifty 50 and a wide, like a 1635.
Oh, so you had a few.
Yeah, it was like it was the basic, like the most basic 3 kit lens you can possibly get with a DSLR body. But that was. And then after I got that, I realized, how do I actually use this thing? This is a bit advanced. I didn't even know you could change the lens on a camera. So when that kind of like segued into me, when we moved over to New Zealand not long after that, I decided to sign up for that photography course, which was the best $5,000 I spent, let me tell you.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of learning stuff on there. And
man, this is cool. I think for me, because I have had people that I've talked to that have learned their creative side in the island, and I think I find it so fascinating, and so I'm like blown away because like I'm my parents, they're from Tonga, and my dad is like the half Fijian, and I've been to Tonga many times, and I know that they're limited there. I'm not too sure about your island, but like that's just what I see. So it amazes me when they learn like a craft over there that we have over here, and they get around to it. That's why I was like interested when you said you got your camera. I was like, how did you get your camera? Because I don't know how like I wouldn't think that they would have a shop there.
No, definitely not.
But it makes sense coming from overseas. I was just curious to know, like, how did you get yours?
It's definitely an interesting time and learning curve that was, I think. I think I didn't realize at the time, but a lot of people overseas actually really interested in what's happening back home and stuff. So the fact that they could have access to that kind of, especially from somewhere isolated like Tokelau, I think it's a really big thing to have that kind of footage from there.
Man, because for me, like I think you doing that for the Tokelauans around the world, I feel like you gave them a way to still feel close to home, even though they're not physically there. You're creating all those stuff. You're posting it, to that page. Like. Was there a lot of people from around the world like looking at it or see? So that's me thinking about it right now. I'm like, you would have like really made people feel like they're still somewhat at home. They're still connected to home through your page.
Yeah, I'd like to think that, but at the time I think it was just a lot of fun and learning to do. So
that's awesome. And then you went to New Zealand and you did this course, hey? and you said you learned a lot from it. So if you don't mind, I just want to sit on that for a little bit because I guess it's safe to say that's like mentoring. Like you joined in a course. Was it one person's course or was it a?
Yeah, it was called the Photo School. It was a proper sort of course that was offered at the time, where there was actually a few students that attended it. But it would be like a little entry into practical photography. So we did things like a dark room kind of class where we would take a film and take photos and process our own photos in a dark room, like in a photography dark room. And we did like pinpoint cameras and just learned about all the masters, like the photography masters, and just a basic sort of summary of what practical photography would be. We also touched a little bit on the business side of it, where we had to do up like a business plan and things like that as part of the assessment side of things. So it was a little bit of both, and that's where I learned. There was also a class on how to use Lightroom, which is my like workhorse. I use Lightroom like completely at the moment. So for all my edits and stuff, I still do since then.
Nice.
But yeah, it was 20 weeks.
20-week course.
Yeah, it was a 20-week course.
And that course was, you said it was $5,000?
Yeah.
So $5,000, 20 weeks. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I thought it was really, really great. And we learned so much personally because first of all, I didn't know how to use the camera. So that course was sort of giving us the basics about, ISOs and shutter speeds, all those like what all the settings in the camera mean, white balance and things like that. How you can use the camera to express your creative, needs or whatever image you're trying to capture.
So 20 weeks, that's about like 5 months, almost half the year kind of.
Yeah.
Man, that's really, really good. When you went to that course, were you having like a different person teaching you every day or week? Oh, okay. So there was a team of them or something?
Yeah. So one teacher would be what she called the left side of the brain, like the creative side of the brain, where we would do like really like huge creative artistic sort of activities. So we would do stuff like drawing and just kind of less thinking, more like on the creative side. So, and then we would have one teacher that would teach us all the technical stuff about cameras and how all the different settings affect, your image and what highlights are, what shadows are, and things like that. So, yeah, it was actually really, really thorough for what it was, for an entry level sort of photography course. And then there was one class that taught us a little bit, like basically what it was how to shoot from the hip. It was like, that's one of the classes I remember.
How to take, like, what do you mean? Like hold the camera down there and shoot from there?
Just shoot because you can, really? It forces you to focus on the left side of not much thinking, like about compositions and things like that. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, that's different.
Yeah. Like, and we would have assignments where we would have to produce like photos that were taken that way.
Yeah. Shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Like, so, oh man, that one, that one got me. So like when you're taking the photo from the hip, like, can you see the screen?
Nope. You're just kind of, rely.
So you just look at it after and you're like, oh, you didn't get it.
Or like you look at it and appreciate it in a certain perspective.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Like you've obviously sort of look at it and like, oh, that scene looks nice. And you just like take a photo, kind of close your eyes and take a photo, hope for the best kind of thing. So what that really pushed me to do was not think too hard on, composing and rules of thirds and, all of those sort of technical things. It was mainly to also like let your creativity take the lead once in a while.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long was a class per day?
It would go on for the whole day.
So like as if it was a school?
Yeah, literally. Yeah, right. I would start at 8 and then finish at 2. So it was literally like a class, like a school class, yeah. And
you'll have one person for that day, and then maybe the next day you have someone else.
There was one teacher, the one that taught us like the business side of things and how to market yourself and things like that. She took us to her home studio. That was also another impactful sort of moment for me, because then I could see what it's like to, have that, visually see what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah, you like studio. I remember seeing one of your stories.
That's, I think, where I feel like I'm in full control of, the elements involved in making the pictures. So I do have a lot of fun in the studio, I feel.
Yeah.
Natural light and outdoors is a bit tricky. You have to be there at the right time.
Timing, yes. You're right. You're absolutely right. When there's stuff out there, there's a lot of stuff you can't control. Hey, yeah. I love both, to be honest. I've done like outdoor stuff a lot, like with the weddings and that. But just recently I've done some studio work. I love Studio A. Like I'm like you, but I've seen your recent post like maybe a couple of weeks ago or a few. Like you did someone that was
in traditional
traditional stuff. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was really, really nice.
That was definitely collaborative. I've learned. The mum of the daughter came in and asked for a little photo shoot for her, and she did the costume, the attire design, and everything else. That was really, really good.
Yeah,
and we just kind of so far I'm learning to be more collaborative with things like that. Not too controlling of a setup and everything like that. I guess I can just do what I do with the settings and the lighting, and just let people be themselves, and that's how the best images come out. So far, that's what I'm learning anyway.
That's nice. That's nice. I love collabing as well. Yeah, I think part of collabing is being able to trust the other person. Like kind of like what you touched on before, like we got to let go of certain things and allow others to express themselves, and because they need to learn and grow just like we learn and grow. Hey, and so you giving them that opportunity is it's nice. It's nice when you don't give them opportunity, or you kind of step on their feet and say, oh no, this way, take a bit of their confidence away, and then it stings. So we're just gonna go back to your school thing again, because I really like getting that insight from somebody. I haven't really talked with somebody about their experience in a course. You're the first one that I heard, so I find it really interesting to speak about. And I think it's good because there's a lot of people that would probably benefit from this, because in this creative space there's a lot of learning, and the learning that we got to go through, it's not something we can get in 1 year. It's like progressive. Every year it will switch up. The better technology gets, the more we got to learn. Hey, like adapt as well. So with so after that there, like, let me ask this question. You've done the course, right? You finished the course. At that time, was YouTube out? Or did you know of YouTube at that time?
I did, but not in the form of sort of trying to create on YouTube, if that makes any sense. Like I knew it was around, it just wasn't as big as it is now. Do you know what I mean? This was in 2013. I finished the course. I'm saying it was around, but not like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know how YouTube is now. It's very informative, right? There's so many people out there that are like talking about gear, and some of them talk about gear that's about to come. So we kind of get the front foot like on stuff, right? If we look at it. I'm just interested to know from your perspective, if what we have now on YouTube, if this was available back at the time you're about to take the course, would you still take the course, or would you give YouTube a go and try and learn it yourself?
That's actually a really good question. I think if I would still take the course because of the way I learn. I do like to sort of have a classroom setting, I think, which you would have seen when I came to one of your mentorships. I just feel like on hands approach for me would have worked better than sort of playing the video on YouTube. And plus we get to do it in a practical way. Do you know what I mean? We get to actually get our hands on the equipment and all the materials that we could learn from. So I think
that's nice.
Yeah, it was definitely looking back, it was the best sort of introduction and confidence building sort of event for me, I think.
Yeah, that's good to hear. One thing I've learned, like from doing mentoring last year, and I've seen it, I guess, more and more after, even when I talk with people, like on the podcast and that, is that I've come to understand everyone learns differently. Hey, some people can learn off YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be honest and say that I would learn a few things off YouTube, but probably 80% of it or 85%, I'd rather learn like this, face to face. I feel like when I see it with my own eyes, I touch it with my own hands, like it sits more better in my brain. Yeah. Are you the same like that?
I agree. Yeah, definitely. And YouTube is sort of a place for you to test what you know. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what they're trying to instruct you based on what you've already practically learned, if that makes sense? So yeah, I think both can work hand in hand, but some people just learn better in a classroom setting, I feel. Especially when you're so passionate about, the topic, you tend to grasp a bit more that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to ask that question just to see, like, if you were to go back, what would you choose? And so it's nice to hear your perspective on that space there, because I find it still like the same in this time that we live in now. Like, there's so much information out there on YouTube, but not everyone understands it. I like how you said that you can go back to YouTube and watch knowing what you know now, because the language in the creative space is different. Hey,
Exactly.
So there's ways, there's words, there's ways that we speak, there's words that we use where it's like, what does that mean? But once we know what it means and then we watch YouTube and we hear it, we know, hey.
It makes sense. That's it. That's exactly it. You feel like a smarty pants and you're like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think it can definitely work hand in hand, which is pretty handy. But I think if it was readily available at the time, I probably would have even, would have been even better informed at the time. So it was good. It was a good experience for sure. At the end of that, we had to do a portfolio of all our best images over the 20 weeks. So there was a little bit of like a presentation and yeah, we got our certificates. It was like, thanks guys.
That's nice. I think just to clear up a little bit for the people out there, so I'm not taking a shot at YouTube. YouTube is a good tool. I think it's more so to make sure, like I feel like it's more important for the people to make sure that they know how they learn. Like everyone learns different, so you gotta know what's the best way you learn. Once you figure that out, then you look for that. Like you look for that source or that resource or way and see if it's available somewhere so you can learn that way. Yeah, because like $5,000 is a lot of money, right? 20 weeks is awesome. But like that type of money is quite a lot, and a lot of people would really be deep in their pockets, right? So I think the other side to it too, when you pay that amount of money, you're gonna be focused. Hey, you're gonna make sure that every class you show up to, you're like penning everything.
I can tell you right now, I had 100% attendance.
Yeah.
I was not missing any of those classes. It was actually really good at the same time because just to clear it up, it was part of the it's like going to TAFE, I guess. It's part of what the government offers to students it's part of a government program that you can attend if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Like if it's the same if you go to do a certificate in, I don't know, anything else, I suppose. It was just what I was interested in at the time. I just said photography because, I had a camera here that I didn't know how to use. So yeah, it was a really good choice for me at the time. So
man, that's good. Thank you for sharing your perspective on that. I like I said before, it was really interesting for me, and I thought I want to just dig on it a little bit more, just so that other people can see what other options are out there for them. So we're gonna fast track a little bit to when you're finished. So you got a certificate, like you said, and then you named your business, your photography name.
That was when it was Rainbow Calligraphy Photography. So
you had another. You had that first. Okay.
So I when I was doing that, I was shooting sort of friends and families' weddings and things like this. So I think I did a total of 3 weddings, if I remember correctly.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, mate, that was a very steep learning curve. But it was a learning curve for sure. Like, it was so good in terms of what I took away from it and the experience of, like weddings are like, you're always on your feet, you're trying to make sure you don't miss a moment and things like that. So it was good for me to get that little bit of practice in and learn from there. So that's what I did straight after the course. And then
you kind of went like right into the hard stuff. Like a wedding is full on.
It's a big deal. Lucky they were my mates, so they were a little bit like, that's all right. But I was probably like, could be better.
If you don't mind me asking, do you remember some of the things that bothered you or some of the things that you found hard at the time? What was it?
Definitely my confidence in, how sometimes weddings, of course, you try and do candids, but there are moments, for example, when you're doing the bridal shots and, like things like that, where you have to direct them. I was very nervous, very fresh. Like I wouldn't say I'm better now at that, but I feel like I couldn't find my feet at the time. I was very like, just take a picture and just make sure my settings are right. That was literally all I was kind of focusing on at the time. But I think that was the big challenge for me. It was mainly, it was good because it was mainly friends and family, and it was a big deal for them. So I wanted to make it really, really good. That's kind of what I was focusing on.
Was there a videographer as well, or was it just you?
Nope, just little old me. Just like taking photos of people eating. But yeah, I think it was more like a documentary photography, just capturing what's happening in front of my eyes.
Yeah, because I guess like it's one thing to do the course right and get the paper or signed off, get that knowledge, that basic knowledge. It's another to get out there and get real world experience. Because you can learn everything, okay, but when you get out there, I'm curious. When you're out there, did your mind never go blank? Like, of all the things you learned, did you have any blank moments, or were you pretty all good there?
I think mainly to do with trying to do the shot that was in my mind, because I didn't have experience and I didn't have confidence in directing people how to make them look good with what Josh was saying and on your podcast. It's your job to direct them so that they look good. I didn't have that thought in my mind. I was just like, I'll just take candids, be yourself. That's what I was mainly focusing on. But yeah, I think my mind was mainly focused on trying to make sure the settings were good, because I was very like follow the rules at the time, because I was fresh out of that certificate. I was like, okay, make sure this, the rules are thirds, make sure the ISO's not too high because otherwise the noise and things like that. So I was very focused on that side of things more than what I should have been focusing on, I guess, with like the compositions of the photos and setting people up in the right way. So I think my mind didn't necessarily go blank. It was because it was just full on like, follow the rules.
No, that's good to hear. Because like you just talking about that, it reminds me of my first wedding, like I ever did. And I was exactly the same like you. I was so nervous inside, but I had a lot of mind block as well. Yeah. Like I think maybe 2 nights before the wedding, I was just cramming. I was just watching stuff on like YouTube and just trying to get ideas and just cramming them, thinking that when I go on the day, I'm going to remember it all or remember some of it, but I remembered none of it. Yeah. I think I just put a lot of pressure on myself.
100%.
I think that's something that we all go through, but we need to go through that. Hey, like now that I look back, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't feel that type of way back then, like the pressure.
100%, I agree.
Yeah.
And when we're starting out, we're so passionate and creative, and we are good. We have the basic, image of what we want to create. We want to create all these images, but you just need to learn more and to experience more for you to create the images that you want. You may know the technical knowledge and everything else, but you actually do need to have a personal, like a face-to-face sort of experience with actual people, for you to learn how to better set up your poses and things like that. So I think that was the biggest thing for me. Like in my mind, I knew what I wanted. I knew the images, but I was like, why is this not looking the way I like the settings are on point right now, but what's going on with everything else? So
you're absolutely right. And if you think about it, a lot of creatives out there encourage that. Like a lot of my friends that I watch, they always, well, not always, but they've always, sorry, not always, but they're telling people, like, get out there and shoot. Just get out there and shoot, because that there you can't teach. I can tell the newbies all my experience, but until their foot's in there, that's when they're like, oh, what did Mark say? You know what I mean? What did I learn? Like, yeah, but not saying that, it doesn't mean like it's completely gone. It's just that's a necessary step so that the next time, because what I always do when in my early stages is like, I remember getting into my car sometimes after the shoot and I'll be frustrated at myself because I knew I could have did better. It's just in that moment I lost it, right? But I remember like that feeling of like driving home and just thinking like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna look at this stuff when I get home and like not be happy with it. Mind you though, when I did pull it up, my mindset at the time was like, okay, I see where I went wrong. Right then and there, I was like, I'm not gonna repeat this again. Were you like that?
Yeah, and that's the only way you learn.
Exactly.
Is if you go out and actually do it. You can grasp all the information, but the only way you can remember it and apply is if you apply it practically. If you go out and actually do the work.
Yeah. So like in the moment, sometimes we can get caught up, right, in our emotion. But then how we flip that when we, go home and look at things, I think that's one of the most important parts of the process. Is like when we look at it, we self-evaluate and then progress. If we look at it, then we get frustrated and we sit on that thought. Sometimes that might break the creative and maybe not make them want to do it again.
Yeah, exactly.
So mindset's an important thing I find in this space. And I think the more you're in it, then the more you realize how important it is to keep that spot up there, like in check.
100%.
Yeah, we'll just go back to the name thing that you were saying before on how you named your photography business. I didn't realize you put your name first.
Yes, it was my the first iteration of I guess what it is now. So I just went with what I was seeing around, something photography. That makes sense. I think I wasn't so focused on the business side of things. My mentality was still sort of what I was doing back in the islands. Like it's just capturing what people want to see, what they're like, if they missed out on stuff like that. That was I wasn't thinking more on the business side of things, even though, there was a business plan that I was trying to follow and everything else. I was, I guess, very green, is the way to put it. I didn't have my mind in the right focus of really going into a photography business. I was just like, oh, that looks fancy how people have their names on their photos. I'll just copy that and make it look professional. But yeah, at the time, that was the first sort of rainbow curated photography is what I started out as.
Man, because mine is my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think for me, like the reason why I put my name there is I think at the time because I'm just trying to remember. I think I did look at a few other videographers. I can't remember if there was any other videographers at my time used their name. I can't remember off the top of my head. I did. The reason for me why I used my name is because I thought to myself, if I put my name out there, then those people, when they meet me, they know my name. So I just thought it would be best for me to put my name, they see me, and then it's more of a personal connection. That's how I looked at it at that time.
That makes sense. Yeah, I like that. See, I mainly was just copying what was around. That's basically what it was at the time. I just thought, makes sense to put I think we did touch on the watermarking, why people do that during the course. I just can't remember what exactly the full sort of segment on that, but I just decided to just put my name. There was not much thinking behind it.
Watermarking is watermarking like what's that again?
Oh, like when you put your signature on your photos, for
yes.
copyright and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a class on that, but I must have dozed off at the time of what that actually is. But it's mainly so just for copyright infringements and things like that to protect yourself from it. So I just thought I'd put my name.
Yeah.
So it made sense to me at the time. So
you named yours your name, but it's not your name anymore. Like now you have is it Lalua?
Lalua.
What's Lalua? What's the meaning behind that?
So Lalua is a Tokelauan word. And it's kind of a tribute to my grandparents, Vailua and Malailua. They kind of really nurtured me growing up in the islands and, in my creative journey. So they were a big part in that. So I wanted to sort of, give them kudos and things like that. And the actual name means sort of just two streams or paths or branch, like Lalua. And it's just to basically say that we're going to try to do photography and videography. That was basically where they came from. But the name itself is actually my nephew's name as well. He's called the Lalua. So that kind of triggered something in my brain. It's like, hang on a minute, I like that. I like the sound of that. So that's where Lalua came from. It just stuck once we landed on it, because there was quite a few, in the planning process. We're like, should we go with that?
Oh, a few names.
Yeah, a few names. The Tokelauan names, my name again, just to see if we could like RK photo or something like that. Once we landed on it, it was literally like the last thing that we landed on. And then it was like, that's it.
Nice.
We'll just go with that. And then it just stuck, and yeah.
That's nice. I like how you said it's like two lanes.
Yeah.
Because that's so relatable to today, right? Man, going back a few years, I remember when I started, it was like you're either a videographer or photographer. It's like one or the other. There were a few creatives that I came across. Like when I say few, like very, very small amount that kind of did both. Or some of them were photographers coming into the video space. And they did go back and do a bit of photos, but not too much. But now I've talked to a few people and they said it's kind of like required, in order for you to progress, you kind of need to be good at both.
Definitely. I think video for me, obviously photography is the main sort of branch that I've been working on for the longest. And so I've recently, literally in the last, I would say 2 years, kind of started doing video and, learning about the different settings again, which is kind of more or less the same in terms of lighting and things like. It's all about the art of creating and bending light into the image and stuff like that. So video is like motion is involved with that. So it's a little bit different again with other technical stuff that is behind that. But it's been really, really fun and rewarding for me to learn about it. It's kind of like, to me, from starting from photography, it's like an extension of that to me. It's like, and I think it's really important nowadays, especially on social media, to have both, because it does, which I've said before, I think it does elevate the story a little bit better. When you have the ambience of what's going on around rather than just the photo, I think video plays a big part of that. So I really wanted to try my hand at that, basically.
Yeah. How long have you been doing video for?
Like, I seriously started looking into it probably when I started Lalua, which was in November of 2023. That's when I really wanted to. And plus, man, cameras these days, like mirrorless cameras, they are a gun, like photos and video.
Hybrid, yeah.
Definitely. So I really wanted to look into to that, and I started sort of learning about that recently. 2023 it would have been. I started doing that a bit more.
Because the Canon D, your first camera you got, was that like just for photos? Was that just a photography? Could it film?
Yes, it could, but I knew zero. Like, I don't even think I didn't know anything about how there's different profiles. I didn't know what any of that meant. So I never really shot any videos out of that. It was mainly photos.
Now the cameras you use now, you're not on Canon no more.
No, I switched. I switched off on that one. I looked at Canon mirrorless. It was just a bit like they were good, but I feel like you had to commit to that ecosystem. Whereas Sony, allows third-party kind of lenses and materials and things like that.
Oh, so Canon is just Canon.
Yeah,
like lenses as well.
Yeah, lenses as well. So unless you get an adapter, but then the adapter tends to mess around with the the focus and things like that.
So Sigma doesn't make Canon line.
No,
I didn't know that. But then now that I think about it, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like everyone that I know of that uses Canon always has like Canon lenses.
I think the mirror, like the DSLR, the older ones used to have more of a like third-party lenses and things like that. But now, yeah. And then I went to Sony and just shoot with Sony lenses, so that doesn't make any sense. But I think the Sony was ahead in the mirrorless game, and Sony was my first mirrorless camera because I always used the old school. The Canon one was a old school one, so when I started looking into mirrorless, Sony was well ahead of the game, so I decided to sort of give that a go.
Yeah, and man, you got some mean cameras. Far out. Like, yeah, you do you have two cameras or one camera?
Yes, at the moment I'm shooting with two. So Sony A7R5 was my very first one, and then now I shoot with a Sony A1.
the first. I think I told you that. Hey, when you told me that you had the A1, and I was like, oh my gosh, you were the first that I know of that owns one.
Oh, it's a beast.
Yeah.
It's a beast. It's they call it a hybrid, and it's definitely that. It's so good. It's such a good learning tool as well. So
even like the what's the other one you got? R5? That's a good camera.
Yeah, the resolution on that is really, really good. It's for photos especially. Videos not as good as A1, but
but that is a photo like
very heavy photo.
Camera, yeah. But yeah, man, that's crazy. And what lenses you use?
For videos, I like to use a 35. But they're all, so I use a 35 f 1.4 for the videos, and then sometimes I do like a 50 mil lens as well.
You have 50?
Yes, that's the GM f1.2, I think it is.
Oh,
it's really fun.
That's the one I want. Like next.
It's a good one. It's a good portrait lens. I find that I don't really use f1.2 a lot.
Yeah, I've heard that from people.
Yeah. But it's good for low light. It's
good to have it there anyways, right? Like, because you got like the 50, there's a 50 1.4 and then there's a 1.2. 1.4 can only go to 1.4, right? So you can go to 1.4 and 1.2 if you either one. So
I think what stuck to me about that was what Josh said the other day as well, like buy it nice or buy twice, you know what I mean? Like it's
you are definitely the definition of that.
And plus, it's always like it goes back to my Canon 60. I did so much reading. I stayed up all night, like just reading, sort of like what is this, and reviews on YouTube. Like I do a lot of that. Like, what is the best of the best, and is it good for me to get it? You know what I mean? Can I use it if I get it, sort of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of thinking behind that before I lock in. But once I do, I don't regret it because it's really, really good.
Yeah. Dang, that's so nice. Must be nice there. 50.
Primes are good, eh?
Yeah, man. Oh my gosh. You've used both. You've used
7200, I think is the only zoom that I have.
For your Sony?
Yes.
From your perspective, what do you prefer? And like if you have a choice of preference, like why?
I think definitely for portraiture, it's better to do the primes. The glass is just better. I feel it's clearer and it challenges you to on your composition instead of just
Yeah.
focusing on the zoom all the time. But obviously, there's a lens for every occasion. Like I think obviously on a sports field, a prime may not be the best one. So, but personally in portrait work, I think the your 35s depending on space and your 50 and 85s like can get you there pretty good.
Yeah. That's so good. I think for everybody, well, I can only speak on myself. When I first started, my first lens was a zoom lens, right? Because I just needed that versatility, you know. And I was on zooms for years. Yeah, I stuck with zooms for a while, and then when I got prime, and then it was the quality. You understand? Like once I put it up on my computer and I saw the quality difference, I'm one of those people, like, once I see something that to me it's better than what I already have, I can't move on.
Unsee
Yeah,
it.
like I can't unsee it. Like I can't like move on. Like I'll go and I'll just keep thinking of it. Like I'm just like, dang, that was so nice. It was so beautiful. What it is, whatever the case is. And so that's what primes like did for me. Once I saw an image of a prime, I was just like, you know what? For the zoom, because you stand and moving, I was like, I don't mind
Yes,
moving
exactly. You gotta move.
because that's the sacrifice, right?
Yes.
So with either one you pick, there's always like a sacrifice you got to give, right? So if you got zooms, you'll sacrifice a bit of the quality, image quality because of that. But then if you choose the image quality, you're forced to move. And for me, I was like, I'm good with moving.
I'm good at moving around.
Because I think I was also confident in the way I was moving. So it didn't really bother me that much. You've had a pretty good journey at the moment. I didn't realize to be honest, I didn't realize you'd done photos for that long. Yeah. I think maybe I didn't ask you either when I met you at the Mamana thing. I think I just assumed from there that you had probably just kind of started. Now that I hear your story, you were in it long before. Yeah. It's just now you're kind of dabbling your feet in the video space. Hey. What has probably been one of the highlight for you in your creative journey so far?
I think it's coming out of my shell because, as I said, like I was very nervous. I was very fresh. I lacked a lot of confidence. But then, sort of meeting people that are so passionate about it, I kind of zoned in on that a bit more. That to me was, I think, one of the best things I've learned to do, just to be a little bit more confident and be more sure about your art. You know what I mean? If people like it, they will. Like you just have to respect that people just have their own view on what they like and things like that. So I think for me, is finding that confidence in my work and myself, basically, and just meeting people like fellow creatives in all the spaces I've been to so far. And how they're passionate about their craft and how when they talk or the way they carry themselves is they know what they're talking about. And I didn't realize until you asked me to come on the potty when I started thinking, what should I talk about? Like, what on earth should I talk about? Not realizing that I did kind of have that little bit of experience that I could talk about. So that in itself sort of gave me confidence, a little bit more confidence. So that would be, I think, the best thing that I've learned so far.
Yeah.
Is the personal growth aspect of it is to get more confidence and be more assertive. You know what I mean? In certain spaces, because you are good at what you do if you really believe yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to doubt yourself too much, not be too hard on yourself. We are our worst critics, so when you sit back and realize like it's all a learning journey, and you do start to feel a little bit more confident. So
that's nice to hear. I think, and it's very true, like confidence and belief. I think those two kind of go hand in hand, right? Like if you lack in confidence, then you lack in self-belief. But I think like, what's your thoughts on the social media space as well? Like if you were to think back into those times where you're about to post certain things, did you ever have times where you maybe held back on yourself?
I think now, since starting Lalua, I'm sort of navigating that a little bit more. Like back in the day, I had that one track thought of, you got to post for the people to see. Like for people overseas who can't see home, just that was driving me. But now it's like, it's shifted a little bit because I'm out here, it's not quite like creating for an audience that I know. So yeah, so now it's again going back to being confident in your art. Like if you like it, then it's post it, because that's just that's how you share your artwork or your photos or what you're up to and things like that with so on social media. Like it's sort of changed a little bit from that, in that I didn't have like I don't have much of a like target audience in my mind. So it is a bit tricky now, I think. So I do sometimes now with La Lua, and now I go, is that good content? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is that interesting, or is that can you learn something from it? I don't know. So it's definitely new horizons for me to navigate through, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Man, that's cool. That's really cool. I just remembered now what the question was I was supposed to ask a while ago. It was about like you, because I've talked with you a few times before, and I remember you saying it, that like you wanted to go home at some point, right? And take what you're able to do now home. Is that still the goal? Yeah.
Yes, you heard it here first. No one actually knows. I haven't announced it yet, but we are going home this year.
Wow.
We're planning to go in September. So I'm really, really, really excited about that. Like, it's been a journey from the last time I left in terms of photography, like then to now. So I'm really interested to see how that goes, like how I approach that now, But we are so excited to go in September. We're planning to go for about 6 weeks.
Wow.
So hopefully that'll, apply the new tools that I've gathered in my travels, I suppose, and take it back to the islands and give that another go and see how that has changed for me, I guess.
That's so nice. I think for me anyways, I feel like you're going to be a massive blessing to the people back home, knowing what you know now. I think that when you leave the island, you left to go to New Zealand, do the course, and then you've come here. I feel like when you're in these spaces and in this movement on this side of the world, your eyes are open more. You know what I mean? Like,
100.
you come across people from different cultures. So like you're more insightful and you're more open-minded to, how others are, what their perspectives are like for us creatives. You get, like you said, you get to collab and you get to meet new people. I think everything that you've learned, along the way, you'll take it back there, because if you didn't leave the island, you would not know what you know now. If you know what I mean? And so you now being able to go back and take that with you, it's going to be massive to them. Take it back to the moment when you first saw that Polaroid camera. That's what you're going to do when you go back to maybe a new person who has no idea of the creator. Like, I can only imagine those young people looking at it and be like, what does that do? How did you do that? You know what I mean?
That's the goal.
And so you going back home, you're going to take all your tools with you?
Yes, that's the goal. So that's going to be the next, that's going to be the next tricky part in the...
taking this stuff back?
Yeah.
Are you taking lights in that as well? Or?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the whole studio is going with me. So that's going to be interesting for sure. I will let you know how that goes. I'll take you on the journey behind the scenes of how that goes. It's definitely ambitious, but I will give it a good crack, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Are there, do you still follow like certain people back home? Like, I'm just wondering, are there any other creators
Yes, actually, there's a lot of like, because we have internet there now and, things like that, social media, there's a lot of good sort of work that's coming out of there in terms of, I would say, more raw, you know what I mean? It's more raw. They just see the world for what it is and capture it. But there's actually, like, I personally see that there's a lot of potential there for sure. I'd really, really like to set up like a little workshop, like a free sort of thing. I don't know, that's a bit ambitious for me, but I think I want to, just to run through some basics of cameras and things like that and give them a little bit of an experience on that front. And
man, that's nice.
We'll see.
Man, look, like, did you just come up with that? Like, has that been something that's been sitting on your mind for a little bit to see what you could give back to them when you go back?
I think just thinking of what I can do while I'm there. What is really the checking point in my mind that kind of keeps me on the path is a little bit of like experience that I had with some photos that I saw of like old time people, of old generations where like in the 70s there would be a Balangi dude that came with a camera and took photos of like my great grandma or something like that. And so to me, like following that path is me like being a Tokalauan and going there and doing the same thing, but being amongst my people and doing it myself, and capturing that for future generations. So that's kind of the overarching thought that I have about what I'm going to do, maybe just to capture what's, the same way that I saw that foreigner come into the islands back in the day. Just portraits of, elderly and just proper portraits of them with a proper camera sort of thing. So focusing on that, I was thinking, what else can I do? And like I said, there's a lot of raw potential. Like people like just post random stories. It's like, how did you think to put that there and that there? Like there's actually a bit of, you know what I mean, creativity there. It's just obviously raw and just capture it as how it is. So I'm excited. I was thinking maybe I could, if anyone's interested at all, no pressure, but like to set that up and see who would like to come along and have a jam.
Wow.
That's my thinking. Yeah.
Man, I think you're not going to come back. It sounds like you're going to take everything there.
Yeah.
Lalua studio.
So if you don't hear back from me again, I'm stuck there now.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. I think like, because your parents are still alive. Yeah. Man, I'm sure they're just as excited as you are, see you and that. Do you have many siblings? Or?
There's 4 of us.
Okay.
And I'm the eldest.
Oh wow, you're the oldest. So everyone has left the island. Oh, okay. And now you're going back to visit. Do they know?
Yes.
Okay, you've told them.
Heads up.
Yeah. I thought you were gonna just rock up
and be like, "Hey guys, I'm back."
Take a photo right there of their reaction.
Yeah, and part of that journey is actually trying to think of how to get there in the first place. So not only do you have to lug all this gear, you got to plan ahead for the boat and the return ferry because it's like I think every 2 weeks. So if you miss your booking your spot on, you might get delays and stuff like that. So that's going to be an interesting challenge for sure.
Oh man, I forgot you did say that in the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it's going to be a very fun challenge, and yeah, hopefully I can record some of it at least to give an insight on what that's like. But
I think you should. Yeah. I think there'll be a mean vlog. Also, you have like going back to what you were saying before about like collabing, networking, all of that stuff. You have, I think, last year collabed with a few people that I know of. I think just talking about collaboration as a whole, from your perspective, how have you found that?
Good. Is a short of it, I think. Again, it's another learning experience. What I was thinking before going into it was like, obviously we're creators, we'll have our own, way of expressing that creativity, which will likely differ from the other. So I went into it knowing we had to somehow put all our thoughts into, one track. So it was I think it was pretty seamless is the word I would explain it, because we're all Polynesians, we're all, and we had one thought, let's do minis, and we just, it's actually funny because we started planning like mid-November for this Christmas.
Oh, yes, yes. So just real quick, who was that group?
So that was myself, Majestic Visuals, and Endeavor Online, Chris. So
shout out to you too.
Yes, this is Leah and bro. So we how did we? Oh, so we collabed on a fire knife dancing competition.
Yeah,
that's how we came together.
That's one I seen you guys at.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's right. You were there
Logan,
too.
Hey.
Yes, at the Kingston Butter Factory. So that's how we initially started it. We just went in and shot for that event, and then from then on, we're like, this is actually we tried. I think the vibes were obviously really, really good, and it was funny for me to try and actually be professional while we're on the job, because we were just cracking jokes and laughing as you do, when you.
That's so good though. Hey.
Yeah, it was like a high pressure moment. You're trying to make sure you don't miss it. You're laughing and joking with everyone, trying balance it all out. So yeah, it was that's where we kind of melded together a little bit, and that allowed us to work even better when the next one came up, which was a Alo Samoa Dance Academy showcase. So we got to collab on that too, and then we decided, hey, you know what, this is a bit fun. Let's go even further and try and set up that the minis that we did at the end of last year. So yeah, it was a lot of fun and challenging in the fact that you had to be professional as well as
Yeah, so I remember when we left that, we loved the day. We loved the experience. Well, I think my kids would just keep wanting more lollies,
Yeah, that was another. It's this is the parts where someone contributed a very great idea into the plan, and that was the sis Leah. So she's like, let's do that, and it ended up being our bribery basket on the side. That's just some tools of the trade. And it worked out. Yeah, it worked out good.
Yeah. No, that was so good. It's nice to hear how it was for you, because I kind of encourage that. I encourage other creatives to try and go and connect and collab with other creatives because there's so much value you can get from it. Going back to the point where we were talking about how everyone learns different. Some people will learn from just sitting there and observing, right? They're probably not too confident in the questions, but what they see, they can get the information they need from that, and then they can go. So it's nice to hear that, your experience and your little journey in collaborating with people.
It's with creatives, obviously it's with how we have all our different ways of expressing. It's the main thing that I learned was to have open communication, definitely. Make sure that things are clear at the start, and what you communicate what you want and listen to what they want as well. And find a middle ground if it's a bit tricky and stuff like that. But again, it goes back to open communication. That was one of the big things I learned as well.
That's good.
Yeah. It's all fun and games, but you also have to be, serious sometimes as well.
Yeah. That's so good. I think when you are like that, being open with communication with the people that you're working with, it also gives an insight to them of who you are, who you are as a creative as well. Because you're right. Communication is really, really up there, right? But in saying that, it doesn't just apply for collaborating with people. It also applies with you working for a client, right? Going and directing. Communication is top. So it's very important to work on that skill set. And I know a lot of people struggle with that,
Yeah.
Because you were saying in the very beginning, you kind of struggled with the directing side.
Yeah.
But were you still all right with communicating back at that time? Would you say? Or?
I would say it was easier because it was more family and friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a little bit of ease with that element, but it was mainly when I'm actually doing the shooting, I'm kind of thinking of a million things at once, and trying to direct them was a bit tricky for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So communicating was my strongest suit at the time.
Fast Portraiture now.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Hey, to say.
Getting there.
This has been a really, really good chat. Like,
hard out.
Yeah. You've given a lot of good insights. Yeah, I've really like enjoyed listening to a lot of things that you've been through and getting your perspective on it. I think just to kind of like wrap up on, if there was a piece of advice that you would give to creatives, what would it be?
I think from my personal experience, definitely not underestimate the power of knowing your tools, learning, education. If you have to attend a workshop or something like that to upskill yourself, like don't diminish the power of that, because it gives you the tools to be more confident in your craft, and learning how to use your tools is a way for you to use it to express yourself and your art. You know what I mean? So that would probably be my best takeaway point from what I've learned so far is like you don't have to always get something that you pay for necessarily, but just not to underestimate that power of educating yourself in your passion and your craft. It's not just picking up a camera and shooting. Sometimes you do have to take time to learn how to use it properly, is what I would think. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. That's good advice. Because like what you're saying, like educating yourself with what you're working with, and then also looking out there to get educated from other people, right? Going back to like the mentoring thing, I had one session with you last year. I was so blessed, like to have you come through. From my perspective, like as a mentor to some of the people that I've had on, I find like, because when I started, I didn't have a mentor. There wasn't too much people around that I could go to, like how there is now. And I find and I feel like with mentoring, it's just a good opportunity, like not in mentoring courses, whatever it may be, that you need to get educated so you can be better. Because at the end of the day, this all comes back to yourself, right? So how to get better at whatever your craft is. I find like it's so important to look into things like that. And, obviously if you have to pay, you have to pay. There'll be a fee for it, right? But the what do you call it? Like the speed, the amount of time it cuts off from you to go from this point of guessing to that point of knowing is so quick. But it's totally up to everybody. Like some people would rather ask around, get ideas here, get tips from here.
Learn on the spot.
Yeah. Whereas your educational thing, the course thing that you went to, I feel like at that space, they would have taught you how to do things on the camera, but then they also teach you why you have to do those things. That's the difference there. Because I think with a lot of people, we may know how to do certain things, but then the moment we get asked like, oh, why do you have to do that? That's where things stumble.
Yeah.
So the more we get to know, then the more easier it is for us to make a choice. Because like you said, with weddings, and from my experience with weddings, a lot of it is like in the moment. Like you got to know right then and there, oh, it just got cloudy all of a sudden. What do I change? Like, do you see what I mean? Yeah. And so that why part of knowing why you got to change that comes into play then, rather than just like, yeah, oh, I changed this. Oh, why is it not looking like this? Okay, maybe this. And then you get into this panic mode. And then what happens when you panic? Confidence drop. So you see, like, there's domino effects of this, but I love that you open up on the educational side, because I felt like it's so nice to hear that from someone like you. And then just so we can establish the value and the importance of getting educated. So I appreciate you talking on that and opening up on that. And I hope that this gives a good insight for other creatives to like look at another option where they can, be better at their craft. But yeah, I think more so, I'm very, very excited to hear about your trip home.
Yeah, I'm excited for that for sure. So that's something to look forward to for Lalua for the rest of the year, and just gearing up for that. And yeah, hopefully it all goes well.
Yeah, and me too. I wish you all the best with it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think in saying that, I just want to say thank you so much, Rainbow, for coming through today. It's been a good chat. I appreciate you coming on.
I can't believe you actually invited me over. Thank you so much. I do. This is all very new for me, and it's been a very great experience having that. So I appreciate you even inviting me over to the potty and having a yarn and everything else. So thank you.
No, you're welcome. For those of you that are following along, I guess if you do want to know more about Rainbow, I will put her social media handles on the description below. Feel free to message her on anything, photos, videos, Lightroom. If you need her, she said it. She said that Lightroom is her space. So anything in that regards, man, message her. And it's just one of those key things that we have today. Social media is very powerful. So we could, can use it in ways like this to connect and ask. So yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming through. And that's us.
Thank you for having me.